What's up, everybody? Joe White here, and Eric Bischoff gets it. Ariel Hawani gets it. It's a shame that Ariel Hawani, who I don't even consider a quote unquote wrestling personality, he's more of an MMA guy. When you think of Ariel Hawani, you think of MMA. He's had a lot of pro wrestling content on his show since he did that stint with TNT Sports and covered WWE. The infamous interviews that he did with Punk and Triple H and everybody like Cody, and Sami Zayn. He did a wonderful interview with Sami Zayn, I believe, last year. Um, he had Eric Bischoff on his show. I believe it was Monday, and he point blank asks him, what is going on? Do you think Tony Khan is the problem? Let's listen to the question and Eric Bischoff's answer, and we'll come back.
To boil it down, last thing on them, could I just ask, Tony's father, Shad Khan, is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is not the GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know Tony has a role in the front office, but ultimately, as far as AEW is concerned, he acts as the GM, right? He's the one making the decisions. He's hiring, firing, booking, all that stuff and more. Do you think that is ultimately the problem? As long as he is the head booker, they will never be able to turn things around.
100%. 100%. And I used to hope, like a year or two ago, I would convince myself that, hey, Tony's a smart guy. He's got great resources. He's got people around him. He'll find the right person to take over that job. But it's become more and more apparent that Tony really wants to be. He wanted to be held up there with Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon and probably Eric Bischoff back in the 90s. He wanted that recognition and validation. And as long as that's what's driving Tony, validation for being the booker as opposed to validation for being the guy smart enough to find a good booker, it'll never change. It'll never change. I know too many people that work there. I hear too much stuff. It is never, ever going to change as long as Tony Khan's in charge.
So there it is. That is the thing that I cannot, honestly, I think of all people, Bischoff and Ariel Hawani get it more than Dave Meltzer does, who has been covering the wrestling business longer than either of those two guys have been in it. But Meltzer won't come out and say Tony Khan is the problem. None of the mainstream wrestling media, like a Fightful or anywhere else, will not come out publicly at one of those press conferences, look Tony Khan in the eye, and go, "You realize it's you, right? It's not any of these wrestlers. These wrestlers are just doing what you tell them to do and collecting their paychecks for it. That's what a wrestler is supposed to do." But none of them would have the balls to look that man in the eye and go, "You're the problem. It's your booking. Maybe if you step down and walk away now, maybe there's still something here to salvage." But it won't happen because they don't want to lose their access. Why would you want to access AEW? Me and Edwards and AC, we used to joke about, what if we got in one of those press conferences? We'd be thrown out in 5 minutes for asking real questions. Now it's to the point where I don't even want to go. I don't even want to go. And in this interview, they talk about booking for the sickos and why would you call your fans sickos, is what Bischoff says. They are sickos. I sat next to them at Revolution this past daggum March, and it reminded me very greatly of why I don't go to indie shows anymore. Why I don't want to go to an AEW show anymore. The fans are just as much to blame for this bullcrap as Tony Khan is, because you all bought into it. All of you guys, all of you, bought into this. And I was practically the only one on the internet saying this is not going to work. It's going to be a bunch of friends playing around in a treehouse. that is owned by a money mark. And it's exactly what has happened. Cody Rhodes was the first rat off the ship, then Jade Cargill, Brian Pillman Jr., All Ego Ethan Page, they all followed the first rat off the ship. So I want to publicly here say thank you to Eric Bischoff for having the stones, and thank you Ariel Helwani for having the stones to ask the question and and Bischoff giving the answer that it's Tony Khan's fault, and nobody is willing to say it. He lets the inmates run the asylum. When he does try to get a grip on things, he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to listen to anybody. And I think Bischoff is right. He did want to be the next Paul Heyman. He did want to be the next Eric Bischoff. But more, he's leaned into being more like Vince McMahon as of late. I'm talking about 2010's Vince McMahon, 2020 Vince McMahon. Stuff starting, stopping for no reason. Putting shit on that doesn't get over week after week after week. Stuff making no sense at all, like the ending of that pay-per-view. Anyway, let me know what you guys all think about this in the comments below. Is Bischoff right? Is Helwani right for making that assumption and asking that question? I believe he is. And I believe Bischoff to be right 100%. 100%. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you down the road.